also there was a lot of misinformation I felt on the, non-surprisingly, there was a lot of misinformation on the
Colour me shocked.
on the far right.
Colour me shocked.
Um,
Example.
Well, they seem to think that asylum seekers are given a phone when they arrive in Britain. They're like, oh, they arrive and they're given a choice between Samsung or iPhone. That's what the Home Office says. The vet keeper is there handing out iPhones, which is not true. You're absolutely not given a phone. Actually, you're given £49.18 for each person in your household a week. But if you are in accommodation like a hotel which provides food, you're only given £9.95 a week. So there's quite a big difference, I think, in the sort of luxurious life that the far right protesters think these asylum seekers are living and the actual reality of it.
It just seems like a very lazy way to look at what a hotel is. It's just, on the face, it's these people are staying in a hotel. Therefore, they are wealthy, or therefore they're well-to-do because they are in a central London property that if they want, they can go and get on the London Eye or take the Emirates cable car or something like that. Like, it's just, it's all bred from this impression of the places the people are staying in rather than the situation of the people themselves. To turn around from one day to the next and say, oh yeah, to an owner of a hotel, we're going to give you £10,000 a day to house all of these people in here, and give nobody that lives around the thing any warning of those people moving in. It does feed into the narrative of like being ignored and being not replaced, but there's this kind of like imbalance of how the government approaches the how we manage asylum seekers and how it is communicated to the public, how we operate the system.
Definitely. You know? I think this was actually something that was kind of frustrating me when I was going over to the anti-racist side, so the stand, which was organised by Stand Up to Racism, is I asked them what they thought about the use of asylum hotels, and the answer was to say, I have no problem with asylum seekers being in hotels. And I wanted to say, that's the sort of answer that makes people not take this seriously.
Yeah.
Because I think if you are on the left, you should have a massive problem with asylum seekers being housed in hotels, because it's not good for the asylum seeker themselves to be placed in a hotel where they're not allowed to integrate with the community. They're not allowed to work. The conditions, not of this hotel particularly, but the conditions of some of the places that asylum seekers are being placed are pretty awful. And like, yes, they have access to GP, to dental care, and like, God forbid they have their human rights respected.
Yeah.
But I think it's fundamentally unserious when the left just have this automatic reactionary, well, because the right are against it, I'm going to be for it.
Yeah.
And I mean, actually, no, like, this is not, the community isn't happy with this, and the asylum seekers themselves probably aren't happy with it either, because it's not a great situation for them to be in. This benefits no one. And yeah, that was a little bit frustrating from them.
Do you know what's quite interesting as well, actually, is how the use of hotels has been a thing since maybe the last year and a half of the Conservative government. And it only really seems to be an issue at the forefront of anti-immigration movements now. Like, in like 2023, early 2024, I don't remember seeing as many protests outside hotels as there are now, or certainly the kind of mobilization around like, there's a new hotel being like, the anti-immigration movement are really on it now. They're really
they're organized.
They're very organized. They know exactly where people are going when.
I think Twitter relaxing its moderation rules has a big part to do
Yeah,
with that.
I think you're right.
Like, because now when I want to know where they are, I can just go on Twitter. I can go on Tommy Robinson's Twitter, and I can see immediately what events they're doing and where to go. Whereas previously it was harder to find. You had to be on these Telegram channels,
Yeah.
Or in private groups to essentially know where it was. But I think the one that I was at, like you said, it's become They're organised, and the hotel I was at on Friday is in Canary Wharf, and it kind of became a bit of a flashpoint for this, because where the Bell Hotel was in Epping, when all the violence kicked off there, the Home Office then moved the men for their own safety from that hotel and into this hotel in Canary Wharf. So while there are quite a lot of other asylum hotels in London, actually, this one has become quite a visible one.
Calling freelancers, small and mid-sized business owners. Tide's Instant Saver account offers up to 4% AER variable, flexible access and competitive returns.
Unlike other options on the market, you won't need to hold your money with Tide for a fixed period. That means you'll have instant access and free withdrawals whenever you need it.
You can get started today with just £1, making it easy to start growing your business savings.
Want to know what you'll earn? Tide's clever calculator gives you a clear picture up front.
Our audience will receive £100 cash back when you deposit £5,000 within the first 30 days of opening your Tide Instant Saver account.
Use code JOE, that's JOE, JOE. New members receive an annual equivalent rate of up to 4% AER variable, free for 6 months. For the full offer, visit tide.co/Joe. T's and C's apply.
Something else that quite a few of the people on that side of the protest were saying is that they felt like we were on the brink of civil war in this country. What do you think of that?
Do I think Britain is on the brink of civil war? I think what we are in is a volatile time where nobody, neither the left nor the right, feel adequately represented. And arguably the right more than the left are mobilizing more on, actually that's not necessarily true, because you have got Palestine, and I guess in the early summer you had the cost of living marches with Gary Stevenson, featuring Gary Stevenson. But there is kind of this feeling on both sides that there's no representation for me. And the longer that these two factions are able to grow and develop their own ideologies independently from mainstream politics, the more it's going to seem like. And also you had, like, over the weekend, the arrests at the Palestine Action protest.
Yeah.
Things like this are happening whether mainstream politics is representing those people or not.
Exactly.
And so in that sense, I think there is kind of an element of maybe not civil war, but serious unrest. You know, like hundreds of people being arrested over the weekend. There's going to come a point where capacity becomes an issue in prisons.
Well, that's why they're going to deport all the foreign criminals.
But then you just imprison everybody in Britain. Right? You just lock up everyone in Britain because they're pro-Palestine. Yeah. Anybody who doesn't want us to sell weapons to Israel is just sent to prison. So Britain then just becomes because what was there's a jobs push that Keir Starmer is out trailing today. It's what is it? I think it's like construction jobs. There's more investment going into like training programs and this kind of thing. So after 10 years of Keir Starmer's Labour government, you have a fork in the road. Which way, Western man? Which way, British man? Are you going to be a bricklayer or are you going to be a prisoner? It's kind of a phenomenon with all right-wing movements, Europe-wide and globally, I suppose, as well, where you will have the figurehead of the movement kind of, so your Farages, your Trumps, your oh God, his face is there. We have an serious problem. Geert Wilders.
Yeah.
These figures are fantastic at whipping people up and mobilizing people to anger to the extent that it will translate into electoral support. And they're more than happy to whip up this anger. Again, you saw it last year. You saw it in 2020 with January 6th, where these figures will be more than happy to toe the line and to get on board with the most fringe beliefs of their supporters until it manifests in violence. And as soon as, so they'll walk them all the way up the hill, and just before they get to the peak, they're like, right, you're on your own from here. I'm just going to go back down to like my mates in Westminster or wherever, and you can do what you want while you're up here. I'm not going to support any of it, but I've gotten you to this point anyway. And I think it's interesting with Farage, where he's had the luxury of, for the last 10 years, being able to be completely vague and non-committal when it comes to support for the ideology of Tommy Robinson, support for Vladimir Putin, support for Donald Trump. I guess nowadays it's quite normal to be supportive of Donald Trump, or quite acceptable to be supportive of him. But now, because he's an elected representative and he's the leader of a party that's in Parliament and leading a lot of councils across the country, he's now being a little bit more cautious in how he represents those views. And strangely, those people are starting to see through it.
Thanks to Tide and their instant savings account for sponsoring this week's podcast.
New members receive an annual equivalent rate of up to 4% AER variable.
Our audience will receive £100 cash back when you deposit £5,000 within the first 30 days of opening your Tide Instant Saver account.
Use code JOE. For the full offer, visit tide.co/Joe. T's and C's apply.